Welcome, warriors.
Yay!
This episode is so amazing.
Yes.
We spoke to the fabulous Larissa Noto. Thank you, Larissa, for being a guest on our show. I mean, she's so fabulous.
Yeah. I wish she lived closer and all of us lived closer and we could all have an anxiety warrior community commune where we all live on a big thing of land and be friends forever.
Yeah, I know. We talk about that a lot. We'll have to have an episode about that, I think, where we just focus on how we would sustain ourselves in a community with other warriors,
Right. With all the cool people we've met. Like, we'd all be besties. We wouldn't have to worry about making friends because we'd just all be friends.
We were just who needs new friends when we all just are going to live in the same property? Forced friendship. That sounds great, right, warriors?
Yeah.
Forced friendship. Oh, gosh. All right. Well, Larissa is just the most wonderful. And before Abby hops into her recap, let me let you all know a little bit about who Larissa is. Larissa Noto has been practicing yoga, meditation, and mindfulness for 24 years and teaching and training others for the past 9 years. She took her first class in 1998 while fulfilling a gym requirement in college. Then she became hooked, not just by the physical practice, but also with the way yoga helped her body, mind, and soul feel both on and off the mat. She's a former secondary school teacher and lawyer, turned 800 plus hour Yoga Alliance registered yoga teacher, 95-hour registered children's yoga teacher, and 85-hour prenatal yoga teacher with Childlight Education Company, and recently completed yoga therapy from Prema Yoga Institute. Larissa has taught and trained all over the world in various yoga modalities with a specialty in trauma-informed movement that is accessible to all ages and abilities. She, quote, retired, unquote, from the law in 2019 and is now a director of family programming and teacher training at the Yoga Loft, as well as a teacher, trainer, author, speaker, and content contributor with Childlight Education Company, Mindful Child Initiative, Prema Yoga Institute, and Outside and Yoga Journal. When she is not sharing her love of yoga with others, she is a wife, mom of 3 boys, children's book author, professor, and special needs advocate. All right, Abby, let's hear about this chat.
Yeah. So I say it all the time and I already said it, but like, this was just so fun connecting with Larissa. Like her and I have been like following each other for a bit on Instagram and I always like felt good vibes, right? Because I don't connect with a lot of people on Instagram. And so it's just really exciting to like meet her in person. And it was so fun, right? It was just really like full of connection. So Larissa just dives right in and describes herself as a recovering perfectionist, which Margot and I could very much relate to. And she shares how she noticed early in life that she struggled to see mistakes as beautiful and teachers that she now knows them to be. She just shares so many valuable insights and ways that she navigates stress and anxiety nowadays, and just really reminds us about the power and the value of being able to slow down and embrace and flow with change. I just love how she talked about like her relationship now with anxiety is bittersweet and evolving, right? Like I just felt that, right? And just like the anxiety warrior journey that she shares, and everyone's just gonna love this episode. It was so great connecting with her.
Yes. We love her, and you will too. We know it, warriors. Without further ado, here's the show. Welcome, warriors.
Yay!
We are joined by just a light-filled soul, someone we love dearly. Larissa, welcome to the show.
So excited.
Us too.
Yay. I love when our guests make sound because we make a lot of sound on the show. And so like Abby's used to, when I say welcome, she does a little like impromptu, whatever comes to her mind sound. And you really just join the fam in that moment.
You embodied it. You're like
extra connected. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to dive right in. Larissa, let's hear about how anxiety shows up in your life.
Right. So for me, I'm just going to put this out there. I'm a little bit of a recovering perfectionist. I'm working on it. It's a daily thing for me. It is definitely something I inherited. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to blame my mom.
Yeah, that's right.
Out the mom.
I'm going to blame you too. I think it's also, I saw that. So it sort of became an embodied part of my being, and I'm working on that because mistakes are beautiful.
Mm. Ooh, I just got to chill.
Yeah. How did it feel saying that as a recovering perfectionist?
It sometimes really hurts because I'm just like, no, they're not. They're really not. But it's like is it beautiful oops? The children, I'm gonna write
Yes, a beautiful oops.
beautiful
Yeah.
oops. I think that was like a moment where I was like, you're right. Like, yes, let's do that. And I talk about this with the littles all the time, my own and the kids I teach.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to make mistakes. Yeah.
Wow.
So how did this like show up? Because you are speaking to two other recovering perfectionists. And I think I can speak for both of us when I say it ebbs and flows.
Mm.
Um, I think that Margot would think that I have a little bit more of a perfection issue. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm nodding vigorously.
Yes. So like I feel my heart is feeling yours. So like paint this picture. Like how would this show up? And then like how did you find out? Like, oh, wait a second, this is perfectionism and this is not necessarily like the way to be.
I think when I was young, I mean, this is really, I was very little because I just remember thinking like mistakes were bad. And I mean, some of it was self-motivated. Like I would not get an A on a test and I would be devastated. And my mom was like, you got a B. It's okay. Like, what's wrong with you? I wanted, at the time, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, no, but that was just an innate, like, that's just how I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it showed up for me really it was when I would feel anxious. This is what I didn't know was anxiety. Like, we didn't talk about, I'm dating myself. I'm about to turn 46 on Sunday.
Woo!
It's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Right? But like we did not, there was no language around anxiety growing up. It was just, oh, I bite my nails. Oh, you bite your nails too. Mom does that too. And like that was just how it manifested in my world. And when I was thinking, I would literally be biting my nails and then the thoughts would just keep going and going. And I was just like, this doesn't seem right. Like, so, why is it happening this way? And then sometimes it would manifest in headaches. I would get really bad, intense migraines because I was just literally like overthinking whatever it was. It could have been anything. But I always, tried to, I would use, ironically, like the healing modalities that we use now, but I didn't realize it at the time. I danced, and Margaret and I have talked about this. Dancing was like my thing in music, and I sang. So like those two, I don't have a good voice.
Neither do we.
Yeah, you're safe here.
But in a chorus, behind other voices, feeling that vibration of sound, which is pretty cool when you think about that. Like, that to me was always my outlet.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, I totally feel you with the singing, and my perfectionism knew I wasn't a good singer in middle school, high school. So I was in chorus, but I lip sync because I couldn't do it good enough.
Wow, good for you. Then yes, I think you are correct, Margot. That
I know.
like a little bit. Yeah, I couldn't wait to sing in a chorus because I was like, yes, no one's gonna know if I mess it up. This is amazing. But even like things like artwork, like I was, that talk about making mistakes. That was just not. It had to be a certain way in art classes, and so for the longest time, I was like, I am the worst at art. Like this is not my thing. And as I evolved and realized there are expressive art and you can actually make mistakes and the mistakes are beautiful, the beautiful oops moments, I was just like, I am good at art. Like, oh, screw everybody else who told me I wasn't. And some of my art teachers that were really stingy and mean. I was just so like sad for myself that I couldn't, that I wish I embraced that a little bit more. I actually think it could have been something like another outlet creatively that I could have gone into if I didn't think like, oh no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. So I feel like a lot of recovering perfectionists, right? We're all on the spectrum, as we're saying, right?
Yes.
We're all recovering perfectionists, but our perfectionism look different for each of us individually now and in our childhoods and adolescence and all of that good stuff. And so what I'm wondering, based on everything you said, were you the kind of kid or person, and do you still kind of have this, what I'm about to say, which is that you feel or felt like you should be able to do everything, that you were good at everything? Did it bother you when you were unable to do something? So did the fact that you couldn't sing bother you? Like, and maybe this is for you too, Ab, like, were you not singing because you knew didn't sound as good as, Sally next to you and Joe to your left or whatever. Like, and did it come from like a place of, I feel like I should be good at this? Like, do you know what I'm saying? I feel like I hope I'm making sense.
No, you totally are.
Mine's quick. I wasn't singing because my friend told me I had a bad voice.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Is it the same friend that told you danced weird?
Yes.
Dude, I know that this is not a friend of yours anymore.
Yes.
But, okay. Conversation for another day, warriors. Anyway, Larissa, what were you going to say?
No, I don't like that person. Sorry.
No, they're a bad person.
You're a biatch.
Universally bad.
Okay. I mean, friends are everywhere, but so to answer your question, yeah, I guess, yeah, because in my mind, my mom was a really good artist. My brother was really like, I should also have been gifted with that amazing quality of doing those things. To the same point, math and science, which were definitely not my fortes growing up either, and my brain is just not functioning that way. My dad is like a famous chemical engineer.
Oh gosh.
He is literally like world renowned. They name conferences after him for science, for that part of the brain, engineering. And so like, I think in my mind, I was just like, oh no, that's so sad. Like, why am I not? My brother totally got that, brilliant and all that. Now in the same way, verbally and like all the other skills that I had were not like his. So it's interesting to see like how the brain really works. Like my brother doesn't have the same qualities that I have. It wouldn't have loved law school, hates reading. Like, it's so funny to see, mind you, I'm like, my book, I tamed this shelf for you, just letting you know that could have been much
never have to do that.
Yeah.
It could have been, it could have been different, but I wish I could do all the things.
So interesting. Yeah.
So when did you realize like, oh, this is anxiety? Like because we grew up in the 80s. Like we didn't have language for it either. Like I bit my nails and a friend of mine bit her nails and we bonded over that, but not realizing it stemmed from anything.
Oh my goodness. I honestly think it was just in this space of yoga and therapeutics that somebody actually used that word and described it to me. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that is so totally what it was. A low level, like it never prevented me from doing things. I would say a low level of, but like a very buzzingly low level of it, like a consistent presence throughout.
Yeah.
That maybe motivated me in different ways, but also maybe prevented me in certain ways until I had the coping and tools around it to really know, oh, that's back. Let's hang out. Let's work with that. Yeah.
I mean, you are just speaking our language.
Yes. Yeah.
Like reading minds right now. Unbelievable. Like I use the word buzzy all the time. Like I feel like it's just a hum that lives under the surface. It's like, I usually describe it as, boiling water that hasn't flown over yet, right? That's when the panic comes or the anxiety attack or whatever. But it's always a low hum. It's always like a gentle boil going on. And it could potentially get bigger and worse and different, or it could stay where it is, right? It's never fully compat though. At least not in my body.
Yeah.
Simmer.
Yeah.
Simmering. I like that. So you've already shared a lot about some of the ways that you noticed anxiety manifesting in you physically, right? You've been talking about nail biting and headaches and that kind of stuff, or at least in your adolescence, I think. And as a recovering perfectionist too. But are there any more ways that you kind of notice your anxiety showing up in you physically, emotionally, in your thoughts and your behaviors? And maybe you want to focus more on like your present day, like when you notice anxiety coming up these days, how does it show up in you physically?
So and it's interesting because I guess it almost, for me, besides like the nail biting and the headaches, it almost feels like it doesn't, like a pressure. I can't describe it. Like almost like a gentle pressure being placed, like kind of right here, but also just like generally speaking there. And it doesn't it won't dissipate until I actually okay, you know what, it's coming. And maybe I should do some of my ways of coping to be able to sort of offset that. But it also for me, and it's interesting, and I notice this over time, but when I get like severely stressed and my anxiety is like at a point where it's simmering, but consistently and I'm not doing anything to actually help myself, it's odd for me. It's almost the opposite. I actually lose weight. Like I get it was, and it's not intentional. It's just like a quick, rapid, like, oh my gosh, like what just happened? And I'm totally eating.
Yeah.
So because I work with a lot of individuals with disordered eating, and I'm very sensitive to that subject. So I don't want to say that that is anything like that, but it literally is. It is manifesting itself in my body in a way where it's like almost like overcompensating. I don't know.
Yes.
And it's been that way my entire life. Like,
which I mean, also just goes to show, like, you know how like our society is so like weight based, and we see someone lose weight, we're like, oh, you look great, and it's like, no, you don't know what's going on with that person. Like when they lose weight.
I said that before. I said that to it was one of my grandparents. It was like, oh, you look so great. I'm like, this is not good for me. Like I know that this is not good for me, and I'm working on like what I need to do to make sure that I'm moving myself back into a space where like I don't have this happening. But I definitely, that's how I know. That's my big. The other things are there. They're constantly like in and out. But that one, I'm like, oh, I gotta really like hone in very deeply into what it is that I need to do. So yeah.
So what is it? Sorry, Ab, go.
No, go ahead. You're going on.
No, I was just gonna ask at what point do you notice the weight loss? Like, you know, when you say it's quick, I mean, is it just like a couple of days and you're like, oh man, I guess I've been struggling with anxiety or stress the last couple of days?
It literally is that. It's an odd thing. I don't know. Again, it might be genetic. I have no idea. I definitely think that it happened with my mom too. And I find it interesting that like, I'll just be like, wow, that's weird. Because they felt really tight. Like those pants are really tight. I'm like, are she just like PJ pants? Like what? Like they're loose. They're not meant to be. And I'm like, they are already loose. And I'm like, that's not right. And then I'm just like, oh. And you know, we don't really like scales in our house. Like we don't, that's like, we're more like intuitive eating and trying to make, so like we actually had to put that aside for a little bit because, you know, just because I have boys doesn't mean that they don't experience the same sort of societal pressures around that, especially with sports and eating disorders.
Oh gosh,
eating are a big thing, and I have to really watch with that. So we like don't have one. So a couple weeks ago there was just all these stressors happening, and I was like, oh yeah, it's happening again. I was like, I don't even need to know, but I can totally tell. And it can be very fast, which is weird, because if I tried to actually, you know, some people are like, oh, I'm trying to do something. No, if I try, it wouldn't happen. But if I have an anxious few weeks.
Wow.
Interesting. So it's like a couple of weeks in, you know, it's like before you even notice. Stomach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Now it's in your stomach. Let's have some fun here.
Oh my goodness.
It is. It's a ride. It takes you on a ride.
I've never heard anyone describe that symptom in that way before from anxiety. That's so interesting. But then it's like your body goes, right, it bounces back to like, say you're like equilibrium or whatever, like your typical base weight is. But wow, I mean, just to have a symptom be developing over time, right, where you may not necessarily be able to say, oh, I'm noticing chest pressure. Like, okay, that's something that is certainly, as mindfulness teachers, right? Like we're a little bit more trained to tune into our physical body, but like shedding weight in a slow progression like that, even though it's, well, you described it as fast, but like, then you also said, you know, that you can recognize a few weeks of stress leading up to it. So that must be, I mean, interesting, but it sounds like it's hard to tamp down on that type of anxiety when you don't even know it's happening until later.
Those are the moments, and I can identify them on my hands. Like that's a deep seated, like, it's there. And I'm like, oh yeah. And I love food. So I was like, so it's just like, oh my gosh, like it isn't an intentional. It's just my stomach is like, we're not happy right now. We need to find something else to be doing with this anxiety that has now manifested itself in your stomach. And we need to work with that a little bit here. So
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's like the low grade, right? It's like, it's low grade. So it's not like in your face panic attack. It's not like in your face, like, oh, I've been like a head without a body for, you know, it's like, it's so low grade that it's hard to notice until you finally realize like it shows up physically, like with your pants fitting, like.
And that goes to the perfectionist thing too, I think. Because I swear, it's like I got it under control. Literally, I can tell myself that I got everything is under control. I got this, everything is fine. Everything is not fine. I'm like, oh no, it's not fine.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Like, okay, rewind.
I think of that little meme, or I don't know what it is. It's like a dog like in a house, like drinking coffee, and there's just fire everywhere, and it just says, "This is fine. I'm fine."
Yes.
That's exactly like that would literally be, I got it. It's great.
You're just like, I'm drinking my coffee. It's fine.
Yes, totally.
I mean, coffee does help. It does distract you a little bit from the chaos around, you know.
Not me, but yes, maybe for those of you that are addicts. Anyway, all right. So, it's come up a little bit, and I loved hearing about like, and Abby and I both have this too. It's like, what were the strategies that we used before we knew we had anxiety, right? Or what were the strategies that we were using to cope without knowing, like, I'm actually trying to cope right now. Like my body's telling me to cope by screaming my favorite song or listening to music or whatever. But what are some of your present day coping strategies? What are the things that serve you best? What are your favorite techniques in your toolbox? What are some of the go-tos?
I think that the movement part of it is huge for me. So that could be yoga, it could be walking, it could be hiking, it could be anything that can happen in those moments where you're like, oh, let me just move and kind of release this tension that I'm holding on to in this moment.
Yeah.
And I definitely think nature is a huge one for me. And Margot and I always talk about this, but like the beach, I'm a big like water, ocean. And I also think that is my whole way of saying like going with the flow more, letting those things happen, letting things be able to just like, oh, be a little more watery, Larissa. Like, don't grip so tightly. Don't grip so tightly. Right. Yes. That's so, yeah, nature for me is huge, whether that's ocean, water, mountains, just having like trees. I think that's the one thing I did miss when I moved to New York from Pennsylvania, which is where I'm originally from, were trees. And also I lived at the beach almost every summer. So like the water and I needed nature. So like Central Park was good.
Yeah, it's great, but it isn't.
It's
isn't nature.
It's a little manufactured. It's
just
manufactured nature. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then like writing and music. I like writing because like it's a release, and just listening to music or just like dancing it out to music or just screaming it out to music. Car to myself.
Yeah, love it. So, okay, so I have a question because like as the three of us, we teach kids yoga, right? And so I feel like this is a very relatable thing, especially for recovering perfectionists. But like, I am certain that you have had a class that didn't go so well, right? Kids are off the wall, or maybe like, you were like a little abrupt with the kid or something. Like I'm speaking from my own experience, right? But where like you have this like amazing lesson planned, you're so excited to teach the kids, and the class is just not with it. They're like, rolling up in their yoga mats and kicking each other, right? Like, and so for me, when I leave classes that don't go super well, like it takes me a while to be able to let it go, right? And because it not like I don't expect the class to be perfect, but when it's like a hot mess, like the anxiety and the overthinking and the wondering what I could have done different, right? So I'm wondering, like, what is a strategy that you use when you have a class that's just a hot mess?
I started writing after I teach years ago. Like, that was a great lesson, or that was a really crappy, shitty lesson. Like, I should change it. Like, this is how I could change it, whether it's adults or kids. And the kids ones are so helpful because I will forget. I don't know why, but I will forget, like, wow, that activity really resonated with this particular group. And if I don't write it down, like I still have it. It's like it's just a little notebook. It's tiny. I throw it in my bag and that's it.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. Because that helps me like, okay, that really could have gone a little bit differently. Or wow, that I rocked it.
Yeah.
Like, that was amazing. Or I ad lib, like I will start singing I will make up songs while I'm teaching and be like, oh my gosh, can somebody record that please? Because that was really good.
I was like, I want to remember that tomorrow.
Right.
Yes. Totally.
Oh, you are my person. Like, yes, the organic improvising of songs in class. And it's like, I wish I could just record every single class because sometimes I get amazing songs.
Totally.
Like,
Same.
yes.
Hard same.
Yes.
I think it's like, because we all, the three of us anyway, we love music. We love using our voices, whether they sound beautiful or is a totally separate conversation. But you know, we're all practiced at, and we're also seasoned teachers, right? So there's that.
Right.
Yeah.
But, and so, you know, there's that. But like, I'm just thinking about to like my early days before I was even teaching yoga and mindfulness to kids. Right? It was just like so many of the things that, but I love the idea of writing down the wins and the mistakes, because you can celebrate the wins and also have that deep reflection and get it out of your body in a way. Like, I love that it's like putting it pen to paper, even if it doesn't feel good to write down your foibles, right? Or things that you messed up or whatever, or that could have gone differently or quote unquote better or whatever. It's just like you're getting it out of you and onto something else. And it's just, I don't know, a great physical and mental reminder, right? That like, okay, I don't have to hold on to the stress of that last hour in my body. I can actually release it in this way. I love that.
Yeah, it's cathartic for sure. And writing has always been something that's been part of my whole being, like my entire life. And I just think that it's words are easy for me. They just, yeah.
All right. Love. How would you describe your relationship to anxiety these days? If you could put like a word or a phrase on it. So we've had somebody recently like offer up like a Facebook status on their relationship to anxiety, which I loved. So just like, how would you describe it?
Bittersweet and evolving. Like it's both. Like I think like I do think that there are very important moments that and things that you can learn from moments where you have felt a very high level of anxiety. And I look back and, you know, those are the moments where I realized maybe I should have been using some of these skills that I'm talking about now that maybe I didn't really have as much access to. Or, you know, when you're working in a corporate job from 9 to 5, you can't break out in the middle of like all I wanted to do sometimes like I just would love to just do a yoga class right now. Like, but I used to go to lunch in the city and that was my lunch, was a yoga class. And I would leave before Shavasana, which I know is terrible.
You and I talked about this.
Yes. And I literally like but that was like my time. So I was like, listen, I'm okay. And I actually really didn't like Shavasana in the beginning because it was very hard for my little brain to be like, oh my goodness, all the things. Like anxious brains didn't like Shavasana in the beginning. But I have now evolved, bittersweet and evolving.
Yes.
Like
so good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot that you and I was like, I talked to someone about that recently and it was you. And it's just, we used to work, very part-time at, Lifetime Athletics, teaching kids yoga in their kids academy. It wasn't that far from one of my schools. And so like I had my morning school and then my afternoon school, and I had this very short window, but there was a yin class and it was at noon on a Friday. And I literally would shove like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I would eat anything that I could eat mobily while I would drive, get to class, and then have to leave right before Shavasana in order to get to my next school on time. But it was so worth it because I'm like, I need surrender right now. I need yin in the middle of the day. So good. It's like it's like lunch is important, sure, but also this hour of self-care at the end of the week is important, you know?
Calming the nervous system also has value.
Yeah. That's a huge thing.
Yeah. All right. If you could go back in time and speak to a young Larissa, what kind of advice would you offer yourself, your younger self?
So it's funny because a song came to my head right away.
Yes.
We're down for you singing it. Like,
yeah. I think it's Simon and Garfunkel. It's like, slow down, you move too fast. It's feeling groovy, I think, right? But that is literally what came right to my brain. I was like, slow down. That's what it would be, slow down. Because again, the recovering perfectionist in me wants to do all the things all the time. And I can do all the things. Yes, I can. But should I?
Yeah.
And will it affect my nervous system? And if so, can I slow it down? What can I do to slow it down? That's what I would tell my younger being. Slow down. You're going to still, if you want to do that, you can, but it's also okay to take breaks, and it is okay to take 5, and it is okay to take a Shavasana. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, you can do all the things, but should you? I love that
Right.
question, that self-question.
It's like, I mean, it's making me think. So we just recently had a guest who she said life is long, right? And Margot and I were both like, wow, we never hear that. We hear life is short, cram it all in, do all the things.
Do everything.
Yeah.
It's the messaging. It's in the
Yes.
messaging, right?
Yes.
Like, you don't have a lot of time. Life is like, so now you're again doing what we're just talking about, which is like rush, 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 do all the things, do all the things. Slowing down is not part of it.
No.
You can sleep later.
Yeah,
Like,
right. You can sleep when you're no longer here,
not
right?
here.
Like, that's the
Exactly.
message.
Right. You don't need, right. That's exactly what it is. And it's productivity and like the ability to be, do, achieve all those things. Like, that was really ingrained for sure in my being. Like, if you're not producing or achieving, therefore you are not anything. So maybe my younger self, I would say you are enough too. Just like,
yeah, 100%. It's definitely generational too, I think too.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you're saying, sleep when you're, not here anymore kind of situation, or it's like that mentality. I'm so grateful to be part of a generation that I feel like we're the ones like doing what we can to break those bricks down from that way of thinking.
Yeah.
And then the, Gen Z and younger than us are doing it even more, right? And they're showing us what's possible all the time too. And I love that because, we do have inherent worthiness, or at least I like to believe that we do. Maybe I won't paint with broad strokes, but I think we all are enough. Like you said, I think we all are, we do have inherent worthiness. We don't need to, we're more than the things we put out in the world. Abby and I have had several episodes that related to business and, that rest is productive. Right. And it's like, I think I'll speak for you and me both. I think I can, that we're trying to convince ourselves that those things are true.
Yes.
Right. And so because we were raised too with the similar mentality of
go.
You get up, you go, you do all the things, you rear the
You're
children,
not
you
worth
cook
it.
dinner, and you work full time. Like, you do all the things.
Unless you do all the things.
Right. And you're not worthy unless you do all the things for rest or anything else.
Right.
Right.
Rest. What's rest? It's
interesting.
But I
don't know, mom of 3, you don't know what rest is?
Yeah.
No, right. But I try and point that out to the kids. Like, I try and tell them, like, Simone Biles and all the things that are being accomplished right now, that was due to a break. There was an admittance. There was a journey with mental health, and like that. Look how that rest and break and all whatever else was part of that. Now look, I love
just
that
had another
like,
skill named after
like,
her.
look at this, like, this is amazing. And we deserve to rest when needed. And I understand that sometimes maybe rest is also a combination of our nervous systems being overloaded.
Yes. Yes.
Ooh.
I totally, I think that's sometimes it is like, we just can't do anything else. I think that's part of the reason so many of us like scroll all the time. It's like our nervous systems need a break from all the go, but we still need a little bit of like entertainment. It's like instead of watching a candle flicker or like a fire, right? We can't do that. We have like our phone like keeping us enough engaged.
What's going on?
Yeah.
But also chill.
Right. We're
chill
in
scrolling, not chillaxing, but chill scrolling. We're just gonna today.
Which I don't know is hilarious because you're not really relaxing if you're scrolling, because it's pretty impossible to like.
I mean, it depends
it's
what
mindless
you follow.
Activity. Yeah, I guess that's fair. I don't know. For me, I wind up feeling sometimes more stressed out after
like existential dread for our world.
Right.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I guess I heard there's more joy on TikTok. Maybe we need, I feel like we're too old.
No,
but at the same time, I keep hearing it's more joyful than Instagram or Facebook and all the rest. So I'm like,
I did hear that.
I did hear that.
Yeah. College students, I teach at one of the local colleges here, and they did like a business profile on me. And I remember it was so funny. This was actually like a year and a half ago. And they said, you should be on TikTok. And I was like, I'm too old for TikTok. And they were like, no, you're not. And I was like, oh, yes, I am. And they were like, no, you really have to try it out. Just try it out, Professor Noto. You can do it. I'm like, that's weird for me. I'm like,
Yes.
Professor Noto, and why would I be? People would look like, what if a student? And they were like, you don't have to do anything weird. I was like, but that makes me think. Like, I was like, but what if you think that's weird? What if you thought that like that posture was weird? And they were like, we won't. You should do it. So I actually have a TikTok, and I started putting like kids art videos on there just to make it a little bit less. Because I couldn't, but they were like, that was great. I'm like,
oh,
Aw, you got their support. That's all you need, right? If the kids
keeping
gave
us
you
young.
permission, yeah,
I'm
the kids
trying.
gave you permission. That's
46
it.
years young. Woo, almost.
That's right. Almost 40.
Yeah.
By the time this comes out, you're going to be 47, baby. So right now. All right. Final question before we get into some lightning round fun. What does being an anxiety warrior mean to you? When you hear this phrase, what comes up?
So the warrior word, I personally feel, I like that word, warrior. In terms of, if you're looking at it from the perspective of, someone who can meet the challenges that are in front of them, but with grace and grit, like that combination of both. So like knowing when it's okay to say when, and knowing when to notice, like to push, not like physically push, but like, I guess persevere is probably what I'm looking for. So like that grit and grace combination to me is the warrior part of it. And, when you think of someone who has been, struggling with things like anxiety, it's definitely a great word to describe that struggle, because it's not like it's over.
Right.
Yeah. We're done.
Yeah, all done with that part. That was so nice. We got through that.
I think warrior implies that there is a journey. Like there's not a beginning, there's not an end, but there's a journey, and that journey that we're on isn't totally okay and acceptable journey. And maybe it's going to require some moments where we have to give ourselves a little TLC, which is also okay. And maybe there's times when we can also, what have we learned from this journey?
Yeah. I really like that. That made me think of like Greek mythology and what was it, Odysseus, like going on a journey, right? Sometimes he was resting. I think he like went to an island and hung out with Circe for a bit, right? But then like sometimes he had to go like fight. And so like when you were saying that, that's the images I was getting. Is like it's a journey, and there's times for rest, there's times for fighting, there's times for neutrality, and just
and that's all of it. That's the implication of that entire like manifestation of the beginning as you continue all the way through. Like,
I love it so much. I love just thinking about like it's everything you're saying about it being a journey, no real beginning or end, and it's just continuous. And also that I think you said, knowing when to say when, or like when to stop, right? And when to persevere. I love hearing that word persevere, because it's just a great reminder that we're not just fighting, right? Or being a warrior in terms of like trying to combat something necessarily, but we're more just trying to, I don't know, create the space for ourselves to know that we are strong, right? That we are filled with courage, that we can persevere, that we're resilient as hell. And, so I love
we can befriend our anxiety.
Yeah.
Be friends with it and say, what's up?
Yeah. What's happening with you right now?
What do you need right now? Because you're telling me something interesting right now. I'm not sure what it is, but it's nail biting, and I like don't even know sometimes. I'm just, oh wow, what is? And now like my partner will be like, what's on your mind? Like he'll know. He knows. Yeah. He'll say like something's up. Do you want to talk about something? You clearly have been with me for a really long
and you're like, why? What's
like,
wrong?
I don't know. Right, literally, like, because I don't even know it sometimes. And I'm like, actually, I am thinking about X, Y, and Z. And he's like, all right, is there anything that would help you think it better without hurting yourself? I was like, yes, probably a walk would be helpful. All right, why don't you go take that walk? Or do you want me to come with? Like those kind of things. That's helpful.
Yeah, so I love that. It's so great to have a supportive people, right? Not just necessarily your partner, but for all the warriors, right? Just having people that love you, that know you, right? That you're able to be vulnerable with, that know you when even you're struggling to notice you in that moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
They recognize anxiety too. And they're like, oh.
Always
Yes.
helpful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing so much of your story and your heart with us and our warriors. We really appreciate it. But now it's time to play. We're gonna have some fun, get down in the mud a little bit. The proverbial mud. There will be no mud.
I was like, are we going to be Lotus? I mean, that's part of my business name. We
That's
can like get in the
right.
mud if you want to.
Okay. Oh,
All
good.
right.
Maybe
We're going to make
change
this
up a
muddy.
question or two. Yeah.
Make it muddy. Yes.
So
Love
we're
it.
we're just gonna have some lightning round fun. So are you ready? Are you
Yes.
ready? Here comes the official sting, Larissa. Are you ready for
Lightning round?
lightning? Okay. For lightning round, Abby and I go back and forth and we each ask you a question. It's a fun, silly, get to know you type of question. You do not have to answer at lightning speed. You can if you want to. Sometimes that's pretty revealing, actually, when you say it quickly. And we'll just play for a few minutes because we like to play. I think this is literally my favorite part of it. Every interview, it's like people's stories are cool, but also we want you to like.
But playing is
burping
cool
sounds.
too.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, Abby, you wanna go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go first. All right. So I know you're a bit of a book nerd, right? This is what we nerd out on. I don't know if you know like how introverted I am on social media and Instagram, but you're one of my like Instagram friends, right? And we nerd out on books and I love it. So, if you could be a character in a book that you've read somewhat recently, I'll give you like a, 5-year span. Who would you like to be?
Ooh, yeah. So, I think it's Bonnie Garmis wrote that Lessons in Chemistry.
I haven't read that yet.
It would be the lead character in that one. I remember thinking like what a badass like she was. And I'm like,
okay.
Oh, yeah, 100% you. Like I sadly do not. I read so many books. I can't remember the lead character's name anymore.
Yes.
But that book comes to mind like almost immediately.
Wow.
So,
it's on my
Awesome.
TBR, so I'll make sure
oh yeah.
to up it there.
Oh, I'll send you my copy. My best friend sent it to me.
Okay.
With a lot of anxiety. This is how well my best friends knew me. They literally sent me this book and said, to one badass MF, like this is for you. And it was so perfect. So I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna send it to me, and then I'll send it back to you.
And then I'm gonna send a snapshot of all the books I have, and if there's one you want, I'm gonna send it to you because I love book swaps.
Nice, me too.
She does. She loves book swaps. Okay, I'm gonna stay in that same vein. I actually had a question that was not the same but similar, so I'm gonna jump right to it, even though it was question 3 on my list. And I like to be in order on my list of questions. Abby. But that's okay. I'm throwing it in the mix today. Look at me.
See, we mind meld. We shine through each other.
Okay, so what fictional world or place would you want to visit or live in forever?
Wow.
Oh, so this was actually Circe. Did you read Circe? This is terrible that I'm just doing this right now. Really interesting, super different. And also, I also like mythology and all that, which so totally informs my warrior perspective on things. But that, yes.
Yes.
So tell me about the world. What's the world a little bit?
Oh my gosh. It was just mythological. It was like water, ocean, like parts of like Greece and Aegean Sea. Like that to me was totally, and there was a whole twist with that, and she was banished, but it's okay. It's all good. I'll be
no spoilers. No spoilers.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
It was good. It was a really good retelling. I liked that book. Okay, my turn. All right. Favorite song to belt out in the car, and can you give us a line
or two?
I know exactly what it is, but it's Eminem's "Lose Yourself." I'm sorry.
Jeez.
That's it. It is 100. Like that's a belt out tune for me, and it informs so many parts of my journey. And I recently. Don't judge my parenting. I recently played it for like all my kids, and I know there's a lot of curse words in it.
Oh my God, please.
You better lose yourself in the moment. That's to me.
Sing
like
it.
That's what it is.
You have to sing it now, Mom Spaghetti. Let's hear.
You better lose yourself in the moment. I can't do anymore. That's all I will like. But that's like, yeah. That's the
Knees
one.
weak,
And,
arms are
like,
heavy. There's
right,
vomit on
right?
it.
And like mom's spaghetti and like all the like the very like clear parts of the lyrics to me. And yeah, that one or it's the New York song with Jay-Z. That was
In New
yeah.
York.
New
That
York,
one?
concrete jungle,
The
where
jungle
dreams
where
are
dreams are
made
made
of.
of.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can't do. Those
Now
are the two.
you're in New
That would be it. Yep.
York. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Let's see. You have to delete all but 3 apps from your phone.
Ooh.
Which 3 do you keep?
Wow.
Right. I do like Instagram. I think it's because I like the pictures. I just do. And I like not framed pretty pictures and like beautiful pictures. IG, I definitely keep. My email, can I keep my email? Is that part of it? Is that
Does
an
that
app?
count as an app or is that
I mean,
just
all the things that are on your phone, all the things you had to,
Wow.
how about, okay, so I'll make it all the things you had to download to your
Okay.
phone. So if email came programmed in the
Yeah.
phone already, then that doesn't count.
Okay.
So
Oh,
it's
it
like all
doesn't
like
count.
the fun.
So I say Instagram, Peloton. I like Peloton. I do. It
Okay.
keeps me like doing things that are not, there's yoga on there and there's meditation, but it keeps me like, yeah. I'm trying to think of the other ones that I use, like those.
We only have one more to pick.
I know. Instagram feeds Facebook, so I'm not putting it there because it's
Yeah.
already feeding into it.
Right.
So I'm okay with that one. What's the other apps that I use a lot of? I feel like
Uber, what else?
Oh, Uber. I do Uber. Like it gets me from point A to point B. I could do
Yeah.
Uber. Sure.
Right. Because
All
what else
right.
would we do then? Right? Like in this day and
Yeah,
age.
I can't do cabs very much. The cabs make me ill now. I don't know why. Not like
Really?
physically. I just think the stopping and the starting for some reason in some cabs, I can't do it. I like public transportation also, but I prefer that to all of it. So
Yes.
Yeah.
there's that. Yeah.
Wow. That's a hard one. I would have to think a lot about that one.
That is a great question.
Yeah. Okay, final question. So you've had a couple different like careers that I've heard of so far in our chat. So if you could have another brand new dream career, what would it be that it isn't something you've already done?
Yeah, it would be like a counselor, social worker. It's something that I think about all the time and I'm just like, why did I choose lawyer over that?
Yeah.
And I think there was a quiz that we took in school.
Yes. Yeah.
Where it tells you what you should be. And it was
Yes.
like number 1 was lawyer, number 2 was teacher, and number 3 was social worker. So I was like, well, let me hedge my bets and go with the first 2. And
Yes.
but I feel like sometimes, social work is not always, it's not a glamorized profession and it's not revered as much as it should be, to be honest with you. And I know so many completely amazing social workers who have changed the trajectory of children, students, people's lives, that's what I wanted. And that's what I thought the law could do. And then I realized that isn't, we're actually getting people on the other end. Like we're getting people who have now run into some kind of a problem or issue that may have or could have been somewhere back there helped out by somebody in that. So yeah.
By someone in the counseling, yoga, or mindfulness field, because I'd say yoga.
Exactly. Everything that we're doing, yoga, mindfulness, the trauma-informed practices, counseling, so all of these healing therapeutic modalities could actually work in these spaces to prevent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, there's still time. Maybe you jump on number 3 on the list.
I think that everyone in my life would be like, seriously, Larissa, you have no, don't do that.
It's true. We can do everything, but should we?
Should we? And I'm every day I'm like, maybe I could. Could I? But I'm like, maybe I wait till the kids are a little bit like out of the house.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Life is long.
Who knows who you'll be by then?
Life is long.
That's right.
Totally writing that down.
Throwing it back to you, Lauren Stanton. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Final question. What's one weird thing that very few people know about you?
I'm obsessed with maps. Like I like actual maps that you can hold in your hand versus like a Google. I like to
Mm-hmm.
see a map and like to know where I'm going and
Mm-hmm.
like navigation. Maybe it's the perfectionist in me. Like I know that Google sometimes takes me a bad way. And I'm like, that is
Yes.
not the right way. I was like, we can
Right.
totally avoid X, Y, and Z if we go. But I don't have the argument with Google because I would not win.
No.
Um, but I think that sometimes. And so like I wish
Mm.
there were more like I know the old school maps are like not even anywhere to be found, but I just want to see it. Like show me a visual picture of where we're going.
Yeah.
So I want to see where we are and then figure things out. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I like it.
That is definitely an interesting one.
Yeah.
Loves maps. Okay. Of all the things that, I mean, like, I didn't have an idea of what you could possibly say, but that was definitely not anywhere near what would have ever come
Very
through.
few people know that about me.
Yeah.
There you go.
Privileged few. I like it.
If you ever get lost, come talk to me. I'm pretty good. I figure out a way to get us out of there.
Oh, I'm just going to use Google. I use Google immediately. I can't deal with maps, but again, that's stories for another day. Anyway, thank you so much for playing with us for a few minutes.
Thank you for being awesome.
And it was a pleasure to get to know you a little bit better in this lighthearted, silly way. Before we have you share where everyone can find you, how they can connect with you, we love to have all of our guests offer up a win of the week, something big or small that's happened to you this week or just recently that has felt awesome, that's been, gone as planned, perfectionist mindset, or just, has felt like a win. So what do you got for us this week?
I have the official completion of the yoga therapy program that I was doing. I got the word and the certificate should be coming in the mail soon. So that's like over 1,000 hours of
Wow.
Gosh, I know
therapeutic work. Yeah, I'm psyched. I'm so psyched because it was 3 years basically of a lot of hours. Totally beneficial. And I can see it in how my responses are in so many different ways, adults all the way up to different things that people are dealing with, whether it's, cancer or MS or things like that. Like I can see where it helps. So I'm excited. Yeah.
That's
massive.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's a massive win.
Yeah.
I know last month when I saw you, you and Mimi, right? We're both, working towards finishing up, and it sounded so exhaustive, but so worth it. And oh my gosh, we're so happy for you. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So let's hear where all of our warriors can find you, connect with you.
Awesome. You can find me on IG, Instagram,
Woo.
at the Lovely Little Lotus, and then YouTube also Lovely Little Lotus, and I have a website www.lovelylittle.lotus.com. So yeah,
Love it. Everyone go follow Larissa immediately. Yes. So much inspiring content, so much joy, and we really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you both. I'm so grateful. Thank you for having me. It's awesome.
It's been our pleasure.
Yes.
All right. Well, bye.
Bye.
Warriors obsessed with this conversation.
Yes.
Just obsessed. I think Larissa is, we say this more and more, but for some reason, it's just the word that always popped into my mind first. She's just so light. She's filled with such light. She's filled with such joy. And it's just like it radiates out of her, not just in her physical, like she's physically so beautiful, but she just has so much inner beauty that I feel like pours out of her soul. I had the pleasure, the luck, the privilege of being able to be in community with her in person last month.
Mm-hmm.
And even here via Zoom, right? You can feel sort of just the authentic, kind-hearted, lovely energy that she puts out with her words, and she just fully embodies. And I don't know.
Yeah. I feel it. She's like when you were describing her, like the word, and obviously this, I mean, did this come from my mind or my subconscious or whatever? It's just lovely. It's lovely to engage with her. It's lovely to connect with her. Like she is just a lovely, like human being. And, yeah, I'm just really jazzed we finally connected. Cause like I said, like quickly on the podcast was like, I've never met her, but she's one of the very few people that I interact with on Instagram. And I always just think she's super lovely via Instagram. And so I've just been like really excited to connect, and it's just been really, just nice.
She's awesome. We love you, Larissa. Oh God, I don't know what to say. I feel like this conversation, like many of our conversations, was just really layered, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was just so many moments where I felt truly seen
Yes.
by her. There were actual words and phrases and turns of
Mm-hmm.
phrase that I have used myself through
Mm-hmm.
my anxiety journey, specifically in the last few years, definitely since you and I started podcasting in this show.
Yeah.
So I just appreciated being in community with and connecting with somebody that I feel like truly gets me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel like is one of our hopes of putting out these episodes for with ourselves and our warriors is for people to feel seen, to feel like, oh, there's another human
Yes.
being that gets me
Yes.
out in the world.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
just,
Because it
yeah,
feels so good. It's like, oh my God, you're using the words, you're saying the experience that I totally, totally relate to, even though it's your experience. Right. It's just so
right.
it just really, I don't know, like is nourishing when you find people that share your story in a different way.
Yeah, I think nourishing is a good word for it. I like it, right? Because it's not just like I think of nourishment, right? It's like we're not
Mm-hmm.
just eating the food just to eat because we need to live. Like we
Yeah.
also want it to be satisfying, right? And it's like when we can connect with other warriors that have experienced what we have and that can also then bring their own experience, that's unique from yours or their own different perspective, it does feel yummier
Mm-hmm.
somehow, just to keep going on that metaphor. But I loved the parts of the conversation that seemed like was most of the conversation actually, which was about her being a recovering perfectionist
Yes.
that I know we both could relate to, maybe you a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more than me. But I loved how in the very early parts of our interview, she said, I'm working on it. And
Yeah.
that's stuck to me because that's something that I practice a lot, right? That's something that I say out loud a lot. Like it just reminded me of our active practices. We're working on it all the time. We're working on
Mm-hmm.
becoming, um, more authentic to ourselves. We're working on becoming less of a people pleaser or less of a perfectionist and recognizing our mistakes as beautiful things, and
Ah,
not things that we need to worry about or at least hold on to for longer than we need to.
yeah. I mean, it really is such a practice. Like when you grow up, not you, Margot, but like the general you, or maybe I'll just say me, but like when we grow up and it's so ingrained in us, there's a right way and a wrong way, and mistakes are bad. Like the undoing of all of the learning from society, but also whatever the narratives we told ourselves
Mhm.
is like such a process when like the perfectionism in a way made us feel safe, right? Like, whatever, like that moment when she talked about how she got like a B and not an A, right? Like as an
Yeah.
example. And for whatever reason, that A would have made her feel better. And it's like all the undoing and the unlearning of needing to be perfect. My takeaway really definitely connects with that too, because I was really feeling that talking on perfectionism. And for me, I guess my takeaway would be that I just appreciated that one, even though she wasn't a perfect singer, she still was in like choir, like chorus,
Yeah.
like that I very much appreciated. And she sang, right? Like she didn't just hang out. She wasn't there for the social part. And so even in the perfectionism, she still gave herself permission to do stuff, even if it wasn't perfect. Um,
Mhm.
but the other thing in her sharing about perfectionism that really stood out to me was just like how much an impact grown-ups make on kids and how kids inherit. Is that word?
Yeah.
Inherit. It
Inherit.
feels so
Yeah. I
weird
know
saying
it's
it
now
out
it
of my,
sounds weird that you said it four
yeah,
times. Inherit. Yeah.
inherit. Like these qualities, right? And she did mention that she thinks that some of it came from like observing her mom and but also she mentioned her art teacher. And I definitely had those art teachers too, that there's a right way and a wrong way to do art.
Right.
Right. And like just
Yeah.
like how powerful the messages are that we're giving little kids about things that don't really matter. Like
Yeah.
art doesn't really matter, like making art in elementary school and middle school and high school doesn't really matter. There is not a wrong way to do it. And so that really like stood out to me, and like just in all the ways that we give messages to kids about mistakes being bad and you need to do things better on things that don't even matter.
Right. Yeah. I think part of it too is that, just going off of that, it's not just the messages that are being sent to children, overtly. It's what's being sent to them covertly. It's the fact that the grown-ups surrounding us and today's grown-ups too, right, are recovering, like you said, kind of like all of us are recovering from the trauma of our childhoods, whether it be mild trauma or big T trauma or little T trauma, whatever it is. We're all just doing the best we can with what we have and what we've learned, right? And like you said, it's like the undoing of our conditioning from an early age is so challenging. It's such a complicated and layered process.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's like you wonder, because I think about my impact on kids all the time, and it's just like, okay, what are my students going to be thinking about that I said last week in class in like 20 years? But like my anxiety won't let me think about that, because then I'm not actively in this moment anymore.
Right.
And that's why, like, I love Dr. Becky. She Dr. Becky? Yeah.
Yes.
She runs like the Good Inside community. And
Yes.
and I love that she's always talking about repair. Right. And I'm sure
Yes.
Larissa, it's just like that is the most important part of not just parenting, as she mostly talks about, but like in educating and influencing children, right? If any of us have an impact on children, whether it be we're coaches, teachers, social workers, whatever, learning the art of repair and being honest about our problems with coping with them in the past is the best case scenario. And it's like, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's just like, we're all human beings, and we're never going to be perfect for ourselves or for the tiny humans that we're raising or helping to raise in the world.
Right.
And that's okay. Right.
Yes.
And that's okay. And as long as we can be honest about it, I think there's that. My final takeaway is, I'm like oscillating between sharing two things. I'm dying to share them both, but I'm going to be disciplined and just share the one. I loved the idea of writing after an experience, whether it be good or bad. So like, she didn't use the word journaling. She said writing. And I appreciated that, because I do think there can be a distinction between what it means to journal and what it means to write. And I guess maybe I hear journal and I'm thinking more like diary like, or spilling secrets or deep thoughts, as opposed to maybe it being a little bit more observational. Like, I noticed this happened today when I did this in class or whatever. And I appreciated that it can be utilized in more than just if you're an educator and you are trying to reflect on an experience you had while teaching. I feel like so many people can utilize this, even if you just have an anxious moment, like, hey, can you just grab a pen and paper and jot down what happened and how it felt, whether it be a good moment, a less than good moment, or whatever, just to sort of have it be like the receipts a little bit, like the proof of this happened, and getting it out of your body and out of your mind and putting it on paper can sort of be a great way of taking the next step into moving past the experience, whether it be bad or even good ones, right? Just moving on with life. So,
like the active practice of letting it go. It's like, okay, I'm going to write it down now. Right. So my brain doesn't have to constantly think about it.
Exactly.
My final takeaway, like, and again, like there's so many, so it's really hard. But the one that really sticks with me is how she was talking about like how being in nature is really supportive to her. It's like a strategy she uses. And then she talked about like water and the imagery of water and the idea of like, being fluid, being in the flow. Right. And I just really, it stuck with me, just the power of how imagery can really help when we feel like stuck or cycling in anxiety, and to have other images to replace that feeling. Right. Or that sensation or whatever. And so, like my takeaway is just like really thinking about like when I'm feeling anxious, like, yeah, I can talk myself down. I can write, I can journal, that, but also I can like imagine like a flowing river, right? Or I can imagine, some type of imagery that I can anchor to help me go with the flow, to help it flow through me. And so that's definitely like my final takeaway is just like the power of imagery, and how I don't need to be at the beach to feel the healingness of the beach. Do I love the beach? Yes. Do I wish I could be at the beach all the time? Sure. But I can't, but I can still have the imagery of it to support me in something that I want to like work on or even just be with,
Yeah. 100%. I think she even described herself as the water at some point.
Mhm.
I had written it down. It was be more watery, Larissa.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And it's just like you. So I love that you're sharing that, because it's not just about you maybe being present at the beach or at the water, but it's you being the water. Right. How much more powerful is that even? Like, oh, I'm ebbing and flowing. I have the ability to go, up and down and whatever, right? Whatever the imagery that comes to your mind in association with that thing is. But yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful reminder. Ugh, Larissa, you are a gift. Love, love, love.
Yes.
Love, love, love. So beautiful. We love you. Thanks for being a guest on our show today. And we love you, warriors. Thank you as always, for being with us again this week. If you'd like to connect with us for any reason, you can join our Instagram fam. We are at Anxiety Warriors Podcast, or you can shoot us an email at Anxiety Warriors Podcast if you're just looking to connect that way. We can chat about topic ideas, or you can share your wins of the week with us. Or if you think you would be an awesome fit as a guest on our show, we'd love to hear from you and schedule you on the calendar. Please take a moment and smash that 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're tuning in. You can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of our episodes are uploaded for you over there. Think about maybe this episode or any of our recent episodes that you think was really beneficial to you, and share it with a friend or a loved one, a fellow warrior in your life, to help us grow a warrior fam, which helps us and hopefully helps you and that person as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're feeling extra generous, you can grab something fun from our Threadless shop. We've got some awesome stuff, as always, over there for you. So grab yourself a hoodie, blanket, a yoga mat, literally anything. A mug. It's toasty beverage season, right? We always need new mugs. Maybe I'm just speaking for me or us, but I feel like everyone needs a good mug.
Yeah.
We need more mugs.
I think anyone that drinks can appreciate a good mug.
Anyone that drinks anything, not just drinks. Because I don't know, when I hear drinks, there's an implication there.
Oh no, I meant like anything. You drink water,
anything in a mug.
Grab a good mug.
I like water in a mug.
Yeah, me too.
So I don't think we've ever talked about that. Water in a mug.
Water in a mug. Not juice. I won't do juice in a mug.
I don't drink juice anyway. But yes.
Yeah, I don't drink juice either, but just the idea of it. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh God. Now I feel weird about thinking it. Okay, we're off the rails, as very typical for us.
Well, I'll just thank you all so much for going on this journey with us. We're grateful that we get to do this with you all.
And that you're here with us.
Yeah.
Till next time.